I don't know what to do about this anymore. I've accepted that he has a rather conflict-driven personality. He truly has a lot of drama and conflict with everyone. I'll say up front, I do love him and I really do want to be with him, but I'm at the point where I don't know what to do. We've been together for 7 years and there has been a ton of drama. I have noticed a pattern. Whenever things seem good between us, something happens, and it often feels manufactured. It feels like he creates a situation, or one arises, but it's usually minor, where he can get mad at me. When he gets mad, he's either ice cold or he freaks out at me. This happens repeatedly. I am starting to feel like he's subconsciously doing it on purpose to put space between us, but I don't know why, and he denies it, and I have no idea how to deal with it. There have been 100+ situations like this, but to give you an example of what I mean, we are having a nice evening and decide to go out for a drink. We go to a mainly empty pub and order drinks and are talking about a movie we saw recently about a mastermind criminal, like a modern-day Robin Hood. He says, "Sometimes I think it would be fun to pull off a major crime like that," joking around. At that exact moment, our waitress, young, bored, appears at our table to ask if we want to order food. He was sitting with his back to the dining room. I hadn't even noticed her approaching our table because I was talking to him and not paying attention to what else was going on. As soon as she leaves, he's furious with me. Furious. Saying that I should have warned him that she was behind him. But I honestly hadn't even noticed her approaching. Saying he wants to leave now, we don't finish our drinks. Of course, the night is then ruined. It doesn't matter how much I try to reason with him. In fact, the more I say, the angrier he gets. When I tell him that she's a 20-year-old waitress who couldn't care less what some middle-aged couple is talking about, he gets mad. When I tell him that even if she overheard, who cares? Really, so what? We aren't doing anything illegal, and she has no idea what we are even talking about. When I tell him I didn't even see her, he thinks I'm being an idiot. It's exhausting and it feels manufactured, like he's looking for a reason, albeit a weird one, to be furious with me. This nonsense has happened over so many things. If I say something, he'll insist I'm trying to start a fight, when I definitely am not. If I forget to mention something minor and unimportant, he'll say I purposely didn't tell him because I'm trying to mislead him, etc., etc. I have told him before he seems to be low in emotional intelligence. I know that is snotty, but he truly is always having so much conflict with everyone because he misreads their intentions and seems to think everyone is out to get him when they aren't. He insists I am the one lacking in emotional intelligence. I am at a crossroads because he did it again over something really minor. He wants nothing to do with me this weekend over the most minor of issues, which isn't even an actual issue. I was truly confused what he was mad at until he told me. And even when I explained it clearly, he still has decided he's just done. He even has told me that because of this issue, which again isn't even real, it's honestly a bit crazy. He isn't going on a date we had planned for dinner, which we have reservations for, and a movie. I love him very much. I know he sounds a bit psycho, but he's not always like that, and I want so much to be able to have a healthy, normal relationship with him. But part of me feels like he hates me. Should I push for couples counseling, or should I just give up and leave? I'm really sad. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, 2 options. 1, you can attempt to train him out of this by refusing to engage in his fit. He starts his behavior and you wordlessly get up and leave. Call an Uber and go home. If you are home, leave the room. If he follows you, go to a friend's place. If you're on the phone when he starts, hang up immediately. He starts, you stop it. Every single time. No explanation, no apology, not even a word. He absolutely knows what he is doing. He wants to keep you off guard, so if you don't respond that way, the behavior loses its power. If he wants to act inappropriately, he can do it by himself. To realize that sometimes love is not enough. Do you want the rest of your life to look like this? If you stay, you are choosing this. You can't complain about it. Every time you deepen the relationship, like buying property together or getting engaged, married, having a child, etc., you continue to choose this behavior. It's telling him that it is okay, it's not, and you shouldn't want this for the rest of your life. Comment 2. This smells like a variation of Darvo. Deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. Your husband is attempting to make you responsible for his feelings, actions, etc. It is a form of passive aggression where he is placing you in a position where you feel responsible for his actions even though you didn't do anything. And of course, he is the victim because you didn't protect him. And he is looking for you to say, okay, I'll emotionally soothe you so you'll stop your temper tantrum. And he knows if he screams louder, eventually you'll cave and soothe him. And if you try to plead innocence or ignorance, he gets louder and acts more like a victim because you didn't jump to soothe him. This is a very subtle form of abuse because you have some level of buy-in in that you agree to soothe him, even though you know something is wrong, but you can't put your finger on it. He's an aggressor. Get out. Now for the update. Hey everyone. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. I really appreciated the support and advice. I wish I had better news, but things have only gotten more intense since then. After the whole pub incident, I thought things would cool down, but they didn't. We were supposed to go on our dinner and movie date, remember? Well, he didn't just bail on the date, he took it to a whole new level. He actually went to the restaurant, but not with me. He went with his friend Mark, who, by the way, has always been a bit of a troublemaker and someone I've never really trusted. I found out because I decided to go to the restaurant anyway, hoping he'd show up. And there he was, laughing it up with Mark. When he saw me, his face just dropped. He tried to play it off like it was a casual thing, but I could tell he was doing it to get back at me. It was like he was trying to prove a point, but I still don't know what that point was. Now, let's rewind a bit. Mark has been in the picture since college. He's the kind of guy who thrives on drama and has been a constant source of it in our relationship. My boyfriend always says he's just a loyal friend, but I've seen how Mark stirs the pot. He's the one who encouraged my boyfriend to start that prank war with our neighbors, which ended up with the police being called. And now, he's the one sitting across from my boyfriend at a table that was meant for us. The confrontation at the restaurant was intense. I asked my boyfriend why he was there with Mark, and he just shrugged and said they were catching up. I couldn't believe it. I walked out of there feeling like I was in some bad dream. The next day, he acted like nothing happened. He even had the nerve to ask why I was being so distant. I reminded him of the restaurant, and he just brushed it off, saying I was overreacting. Overreacting? He ditched our date to hang out with the one person he knows I have issues with. But wait, it gets worse. A couple of days later, I found out he'd been telling people that I was the one causing drama in our relationship. He said I was always picking fights and that I was too sensitive. It was like he was building a case against me to all our friends, and some of them were starting to believe him. I was so hurt and confused. I've always been the one trying to keep the peace, to smooth things over. I've lost count of the number of times I've apologized just to end an argument, even when I knew I wasn't in the wrong. It's like he's rewriting our history, and I don't know how to make it stop. I thought about couples counseling again, but I'm not sure he'd even go. He's so set in his ways, and he's convinced that he's the one who's always right. It's like he's got this narrative in his head, and nothing I say or do can change it. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any more messed up, I found a receipt. It was for a necklace, a really expensive one, and I'd never seen it before. When I asked him about it, he said it was for his sister's birthday. But her birthday was months ago, and I know for a fact she didn't get a necklace from him. So now I'm left wondering, who is the necklace for? Is there someone else? Is that why he's been pushing me away, creating all these conflicts? I don't want to jump to conclusions, but it's hard not to when things just don't add up. Husband wants second baby, but doesn't help with first one. So I get revenge by, I don't know what to do, and I don't know if I'm being fair in my relationship. For starters, I'm 23 years old, female, and my husband is 22 years old, male, and we have a 1-year-old baby. We are in a fairly happy marriage, and he always brings up that he wants a second baby. We both know that now is not the time because we have limited income and don't even have a set place for ourselves. However, we have talked, and he really wants a second baby. I used to want many kids too until I had one, and I realized how hard it is. At the moment, I am a stay-at-home mom, Sancham, and he provides. However, I want to get into the workforce too. I just got my diploma, and I want to build a career, and I don't think he realizes it. The worst, though, is that he wants this second kid, and he hardly takes care of our current one. He never changes poopy diapers because they make him gag, never wakes up with him during the night, and never really does anything except the occasional pee diaper. He helps me get him ready for bed occasionally and sometimes plays with him for 5 minutes so I can pee. His excuse is that he is tired because he works. However, I feel as though I work 24/7 without a traditional job. I never get a second to myself, and I'm always taking care of the baby, who I love. But I need a break sometimes. I don't know if I'm being unreasonable, and most guys are just like this, or if he's being unreasonable because I told him many times I'm severely depressed and taking it out on everyone around me, and he's not helping the situation. I just asked him one thing: if he can wake up with me in the morning because it's been tough on me to wake up, due to me waking up and realizing my day is going to be exactly like last night and a month before and a month before that, it's always the same, and I can't do this anymore. I feel like I'm in shackles, even though providing for my baby should be something I love. I just feel like I'm not accomplishing anything, and this just makes me into a bitter woman. Edit. Thank you all for the comments. It's helped a lot, to be honest. An added part is we definitely won't be having another baby right now. I'm just so conflicted in general because I do want my son to have a sibling. But if we continue down this path, he won't have a normal mom anymore. I tried to talk to my husband about these issues, but I don't know. It's like he's listening with one ear and it's coming out the other. I legit had to force him to change a poopy diaper one time. And I did ask, how do you want a second kid if you're not helping me with the first? He changed the diaper that one time and hasn't thought about changing another one. I love him, and I want a family with him. I just don't know how to get through to him. As one comment said, he split the work up in his head, thinking that since I don't work a job, childcare is my job. However, I tried to explain to him that he gets a weekend and gets to sleep peacefully at night, while I don't have those luxuries. I don't know how else to explain to him that we are having relationship issues because of this, and I am genuinely not the same person I was. I'm constantly stressed, on edge, and just mean to everyone. And I hate that about myself lately. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You need to have a serious conversation with him about needing more support. Working a traditional job is no excuse to not parent when you get home. Do not have another baby right now. You think you're drowning now. Imagine that times 2 with no help. You're basically a single mom who is financially supported. You need a supportive partner who will raise your child alongside you. I'd have a serious talk with him and possibly try to go to couples counseling if you can, because he's not seeming to understand your frustrations, and they will get worse as time goes by. I'm so sorry you're going through this. That is not fair to you. Comment 2. I am stuck on the fact that you described this as a good relationship, despite him not doing any parenting, understanding how much goes into raising a baby and keeping the house together, let alone respecting you for it or showing gratitude, knowing your career dreams, let alone supporting them. You are setting the bar for a good relationship way too low, and he's still tripping right over it. Seriously, you deserve so much more. Do not let yourself or him convince you otherwise. Please reach out to some support systems. Now for the update. Hey everyone. Thanks for sticking around after my last post. I've got an update for you, and let me tell you, it's been a tense few days. So after I shared my story, I decided to have another heart-to-heart with my husband. I laid it all out, how I felt like I was drowning in diapers and baby cries while he seemed to be on a different planet. I reminded him of the time when we first met, how we dream about our future family, but also our individual goals. Back then, he was all about supporting each other's dreams. I guess he forgot that my dream wasn't just to be a mom, but to have a career too. Well, he actually listened this time. Maybe it was the way I said it, or maybe it was the look in my eyes, but something clicked. He promised to step up his game, and for a moment, I felt a glimmer of hope. The next morning, he surprised me by getting up with the baby. I was shocked. I actually got to sleep in for an extra hour, and it felt like heaven. But that's when the first bomb dropped. I found out he was late for work because he took over the morning routine. His boss wasn't happy, and he got a warning. I felt guilty, like I was the one who made him late. Things got tense after that. He was trying, I could see it, but the stress of work and home life was getting to him. We started bickering over little things, like who left the milk out or why the baby's favorite toy was missing. It was like we were both on edge, waiting for the next argument to start. Then came the second bomb. I got a call for a job interview. It was for a position I really wanted, something that could kickstart my career. I was over the moon, but when I told my husband, his face fell. He was happy for me, but worried. How would we manage with both of us working and a baby to take care of? We sat down and tried to figure it out. Daycare was expensive, and with our tight budget, it would be tough. But we crunched the numbers and realized we could just about manage it if we cut back on some luxuries. It was a tough decision, but we agreed to give it a shot. The day of the interview came, and I was a nervous wreck. My husband took the day off to take care of the baby, and I appreciated it. But I could tell he was still worried. I aced the interview, though, and they offered me the job on the spot. I was ecstatic, but when I got home and saw my husband, exhausted from a day with the baby, I felt that pang of guilt again. We had a long talk that night. He admitted he was scared of the changes, scared that he wouldn't be able to cope with more responsibilities at home. I told him I was scared too, but that we had to try for our family and for ourselves. So we're giving it a go. I'm starting my new job next week, and we've enrolled our baby in a local daycare. It's going to be a huge adjustment for all of us, but we're determined to make it work. But here's the bittersweet part. My husband and I were not the same carefree couple we used to be. We've both grown up a lot in the past few days, and it's changed us. We're more serious now, more focused on the future. And while I'm excited about what's to come, I can't help but miss those early days when it was just the two of us against the world. My little brother stopped drawing and telling stories. Now I find out he rarely eats because he's not hungry, and it makes his stomach hurt. I confront him. My little brother has always had issues. He's an extremely shy boy and didn't have any friends for most of his life. Despite that, he's very sweet and was very cheerful. He's a great artist and storyteller and loved showing off his artwork and telling his stories to me. And we don't fight much because he mostly just does whatever I say, even if it's something that matters to him. The last year and a half, though, things have gotten worse, and it's starting to scare me. He's basically stopped drawing and coming to me with stories. He spends like all of his time in his room and refuses to come with the rest of the family when we're going somewhere fun because he's busy or tired. And he just seems like there's a gray cloud hanging over him. Like, a lot more than just he's not an excitable, happy kid anymore. My mom says that he's just a teenager going through teenager things, but I really don't think so. The part I'm here about today is his eating. He hasn't grown much at all and has actually gotten thinner. I didn't realize how bad it was until he started high school this year, and I saw how frail and young-looking he is compared to other ninth graders. Seeing him next to the others took it from not great to really concerning to me. My mom says that according to his doctor, he's underweight but otherwise healthy. She started packing him lunches again. He'd been packing his own for years at that point, and otherwise nothing changed. My parents are very busy and pretty clueless about our lives. Today, I saw him throwing out his lunch and made him buy a new one from the cafeteria and eat it. While we were there, I asked him a few times and threatened to tell Mom about something bad he did. And he admitted that most days he just eats supper and a few snacks because he's not hungry and eating more than he feels like makes his stomach hurt. It isn't a body image thing. He hates how weak he is and how badly he performs in gym class. He's just almost never hungry, especially when he's sad or stressed out. He only forces down dinner because he'd rather be sick to his stomach than deal with our parents asking questions. I yelled at him and made him promise me to eat lunch from now on. What do? I think he'll obey me. He always obeys me. but that won't make him healthy. It'll just make him not malnourished. How do I get our parents to get him to a doctor and find out what's going on with him? Because he was probably starving himself to begin with because he's either sick or emotionally unwell, and food alone won't fix that. TLDR, my little brother is underweight and not eating enough because of some health emotional issue. How to make sure he ends up healthy. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. This is such a tough situation. I come from a family of 4 girls, and disordered eating is the norm. I know that it's impossible to force someone to eat, and if you do, you still haven't solved the main issue. Whether you're restricting your diet to gain a sense of control over your life/appearance or under-eating for different reasons, it's a medical problem. The issue is, it's also a symptom of deeper underlying problems, like you've said. Props for noticing and caring. You're a good sister. Ultimately, your brother's care rests with your parents, the doctors, and your brother himself. So if you want your parents to take him to the doctor, I would tell them just that. Hey, Mom, Dad, I'm worried about little brother. I saw him throw out his lunch at school, and I think he's been doing that for some time now. He's isolating himself, underweight, deeply insecure about it, and still not eating. He's not okay and should see a professional. Would you be comfortable saying something like that to your mom/dad? Comment 2. I don't know how much help this will be, but that was exactly me when I was in high school. They used to call me a Holocaust victim in the locker room, but the comments never got to me. Pretty much from age 14 to 19, I barely ate. And for me, I wasn't depressed, nor did I have any eating disorder or body image issues. I just wasn't hungry. I skipped breakfast and lunch, and maybe had a few bites of dinner. Any more than that, and I would feel nauseous. People said I needed to just power through the pain to make my stomach grow to fit more food. But that was really hard to do. I prefaced this by saying it probably won't help much because I don't know what changed in me. But during college, I got the urge to eat, and I've been at a normal body weight since. There's a chance that there are no deeper issues, and he's just not hungry. That's how I was for years. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been 3 days since I posted about my little brother's eating issues, and a lot has happened. I'm still reeling from the events, and I need to vent. First off, I managed to convince my parents to take him to a doctor. They were reluctant, saying he was just going through a phase. But I stood my ground. The doctor ran some tests and found nothing physically wrong, which was both a relief and a frustration. It meant we had to look deeper into his emotional state. I remembered how he used to be so passionate about his art and storytelling. It hit me that maybe his loss of interest in those things was a sign of something bigger. So, I went through his room, trying to find his old sketchbooks, hoping to encourage him to pick up drawing again. Instead, I found a hidden diary. I know I shouldn't have, but I read it. The things he wrote were heartbreaking. He talked about feeling invisible at school, about kids making fun of his shyness, and how he felt like he couldn't measure up to me. I never knew he compared himself to me like that. I confronted him about the diary, and he broke down. He admitted that he felt like he couldn't talk to anyone, not even me. That's when I realized that I might have been part of the problem. I've always been the one calling the shots, and he just went along with it. Maybe I never really listened to him. The next day, things took a turn for the worse. I caught him throwing out his lunch again. I was furious. I thought we had an understanding, but then he told me something that made my blood boil. He said that some of the older kids had been bullying him, taking his lunch money, and threatening him if he told anyone. That's why he wasn't eating. He was scared. I was ready to march to the school and confront those bullies myself, but he begged me not to. He was terrified it would make things worse. I felt so helpless, seeing him like that. I promised him I wouldn't say anything, but I couldn't just do nothing. So, I started watching him at school, making sure he was okay. I noticed one of the bullies, a guy from my grade who always seemed nice enough to me. I couldn't believe he was one of the ones tormenting my brother. I confronted him, and it turned into a huge scene. He denied everything, of course, and it ended with him threatening me too. I was shocked. I never expected things to escalate like that. I went home that day feeling defeated. I didn't know what to do. My brother was still not eating properly, and now I had a target on my back too. But then, something unexpected happened. The bully's girlfriend, who had witnessed our confrontation, approached me. She told me she had no idea her boyfriend was like that, and that she was sorry. She also said she'd make sure it stopped. I was skeptical, but I thanked her. The next day, my brother came home with a smile on his face for the first time in months. He said that the bullies had left him alone and that he had been able to eat his lunch in peace. I was relieved, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was too easy. And then the subtle hand of karma made its move. The bully got caught stealing from the locker room, and it turned out he had a history of this kind of behavior. He was suspended, and his reputation took a nosedive. The other bullies, without their leader, backed off. My brother's mood has improved since then. He started drawing again, and he's even sharing his stories with me. I make sure to listen, really listen this time. I've learned that being a good sibling isn't about making him obey me, it's about supporting him and being there for him. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.